morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, August 23rd, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. Bax, obviously the big news in Buckeye Nation this morning, the Kyrie Irving trade to the Celtics now. The Kyrie Irving trade is a big deal around here, but obviously the big news for Ohio State football is the Joe Burrow injury. Our Steve Hellwagon had the information yesterday, had a really good source, but we wanted a second source on it. We wanted Ohio State to be able to confirm it because, Urban feels very strongly about that, and they finally this morning confirmed it. Bad news for Joe Burrow. I think even though Urban was not going to name a number 2 quarterback, I really think Burrow was the backup quarterback. We'll talk about Dwayne Haskins in a minute, but just obviously a tough blow for Joe Burrow. He's going to be out indefinitely with a broken finger in his throwing hand.
Yeah, this sucks. That's the only way to put it, really. I agree with you. I don't think Urban was going to name anybody. It was going to be Burrow or Haskins in the depth chart, and we were going to let this thing push to spring football next year to see who was going to be JT's successor. But I do think the first one in would have been Joe Burrow. And I say that because Joe Burrow stylistically is very much the same style of quarterback as JT Barrett, right? Dwayne Haskins is a bit of a different style change. He's more of the Cardale to Burrow's JT, if you will. And that's fine, but if your game plan involves having a running quarterback who runs the read option well, then you're going to bring in Burrow. So this is something where you're not going to have necessarily the ease of integration between quarterbacks if there's an injury. And that's a negative for OSU because if JT does get hurt in that game, the first thing you're thinking of at that point is, all right, let's get through this game, let's get out of here with a W, and then let's get back to seeing how JT's health is so that the Buckeyes can try to move forward with the season, right? Well, now I don't think it's an option. And, if JT gets hurt in one of these games, you're going to have to literally change your game plan. And that's not something any coach wants to do. So that hurts more than anything else. When we all talk about backup quarterbacks, the truth of the matter is this doesn't matter unless it matters. Yeah, this could be literally of no importance because JT could take every important snap for the entire season like we're all hoping he does. But, in the grand scheme of things, you need to plan for different eventualities. This hurts.
Haskins, during bowl practice, he drew rave reviews from all of his teammates. They just could not talk enough about Dwayne Haskins and his arm talent and how well he throws the ball. And we saw, in the 2014 postseason when Ohio State had to adjust its offense, completely adjusted from J.T. Barrett going to Cardale Jones. Tom Herman was able to do that. And I think Kevin Wilson will be able to do that if that's if that's what happens. If he has Dwayne Haskins as his quarterback, I don't expect all of a sudden. Hopefully J.T. Barrett just stays healthy and it's a moot point. But if Haskins needs to go in there, I would be more concerned, obviously, for the Ed Warner and Tim Beck at the controls trying to change the offense. Yeah. I think Kevin Wilson's going to be ready for that. I really think Dwayne Haskins, there would be a drop-off from fifth-year senior J.T. Barrett to redshirt freshman Dwayne Haskins. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Buckeyes would still be, even in a game like Oklahoma, I still think they would be favored with Dwayne Haskins as the starting quarterback. Let's keep JT healthy, but if for some reason he gets hurt against Indiana, I still think the Buckeyes, it'd be tougher to beat Oklahoma backs, but I still think they would be the favorite and would win that game with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, largely because of Kevin Wilson.
Yeah, and that's the difference, too, is when you have Kevin Wilson, it's a significant upgrade from the Tim and Ed Gong show that we suffered through. Look at that, right? Herman knew what to do whenever he had a quarterback whose skill set was entirely different from the one he was replacing, right? So, now if you remember, though, at the end of that Michigan game when JT got hurt in 2014, Cardale he scrambled once for a first down, and then Zeke ran off a long touchdown. That was the whole offense. They really didn't do much that game after JT got out. And that's something that you're going to have to keep in mind is that long term, like, if you give Haskins a week to prepare as the starter against Oklahoma, I feel like Ohio State still wins the game. Ohio State has better players. You can prepare the offense. You can prepare a game plan that sort of follows Haskins' big arm strength. It'll look more like the Bradford offense that Wilson ran when he was at Oklahoma. My big concern is you're in the middle of the first quarter and JT goes down with an injury against Oklahoma and you got to bring in Haskins. Your entire run game plan changes because Haskins isn't the option style quarterback. And that's the big concern at that point. By the way, also, if JT goes down, Joe Burrow's been around for a couple of years. He's came in and played in multiple games. Haskins really hasn't. You have to wonder how being suddenly thrust into the spotlight will affect him. So, it is what it is, but I will say this. If you want one silver lining, the silver lining is going to be that if Joe Burrow was, by all intents and purposes, the backup the entire year, I wonder how that would affect Haskins going into the competition in the spring for next year's starting quarterback. Whereas now, with Haskins being the guy who's essentially going to be the backup for the first month, and who knows how long really it takes for Joe Burrow to get back, Haskins is going to have experience as that backup role. I think he's going to have more confidence in that backup role. And you're going to have a better Dwayne Haskins competing against Joe Burrow, who, for my money, is still the front runner to win the job next year. So that's a bit of a silver lining here, but I'll take that silver lining only if you promise that JT doesn't get hurt now.
I mentioned that Haskins, was impressive according to his teammates and coaches in bowl practice. We got to see it in the spring. I mean, he looked really good in the spring game. He looked good. There was a couple spring practices that were open, including the student appreciation scrimmage where I thought Dwayne Haskins looked good. But you're right. One thing about Dwayne, I mean, they would, as we mentioned, they would have to switch their offense. He is not a running quarterback. There's going to be a lot of people that say, well, wait a minute. If JT goes down the middle of a game and you need a quarterback that's similar and a guy that's been impressive so far, might Tate Martell as a true freshman be in the mix? If JT Barrett goes down, you wouldn't have to change your offense very much. I still say no. I still think it would be Dwayne Haskins, but there's going to be people that wonder that. I'm curious to get your take on that. Do you think there could be a chance that Tate Martell could be in the mix this year?
I still don't see that happening. I think they need to hold his red shirt. I think Tate's not the kind of quarterback who's going to go early to the NFL, so redshirting him actually matters. I look at it like this. If JT goes down and Joe Burrow can't play, then Tate's obviously your backup, but I don't think you burn his red shirt unless you have to. And in that instance, I think that you absolutely have Haskins go in. I think you're less concerned with changing the offense versus just moving the ball down the darn field. And Haskins is probably better suited right now with the time he's been at OSU to do that than Tate Martell is. That's not a knock on Martell. Martell's a great runner with the ball in his hands, right? But I'd love to see that kid get another year in the weight room before you really got him set in front of some live fire. And I think Martell's going to be the third wheel that nobody's talking about in next year's quarterback competition. But I don't think it's a good idea necessarily just to throw him in the mix. Can you imagine just being like, all right, JT's hurt, Tate Martell, go beat Oklahoma? So that's a little harder to fathom.
I'm with you. I don't want to see them burn his red shirt unless they absolutely have to. And as you mentioned, if JT goes down and Burrow's still out, and they're saying it's Burrow's throwing hand, so this 3 to 4 weeks, and I don't know if that's accurate. I think it might be more. I think the word Ohio State used was indefinitely. Some people have thrown out 3 to 4 weeks. I was like, if it says throwing hand, 3 to 4 weeks sounds very optimistic. But obviously, if JT goes down, Haskins will be the guy, and then Martell will be the backup. But unless you absolutely need a backup, do not burn his red shirt. I think Haskins will be able to get the job done if necessary. And again, hopefully JT just stays healthy and it doesn't matter. Indiana. 1 week from tomorrow. That feels good to say. The season opener, 1 week from tomorrow in Bloomington. What's the update with tickets over there? I'm sure the game is sold out, so if someone needs, for a while, you can just buy tickets through the Indiana ticket office for face value at Horseshoe West. You're an expert in this field. If someone needs tickets to the Indiana game, what's the best way to get them right now?
Well, the best way to get them is to go online and get them because you're going to still have decent selection, I've said this before. I tell people to go local. Places like Main Event, Minutemen, or 444 Seat, those guys are the ones in Columbus who can give you a better option. But right now, that game is sold out. You're going to see slightly above face prices for the center sections, like if you're talking between the 20s and stuff. I would also tell people, a lot of people have looked at this and go, I want to sit on the OSU side. The whole thing's the OSU side. It's going to be, let's be honest here. So, you're good to sit wherever. Indiana fans aren't going to bite. This isn't like, marching your way into Penn State for a whiteout and getting urine thrown on the band. So you'll be okay. I also would tell you that there's probably going to be some options where if you're behind the one end zone, for example, and there are closed end zone there, you're probably going to be able to get those a little less than face. Just keep an eye on the market. And if you want to get decent seats between the 20s, I'd grab them. If you want to just get the cheapest seat, wait until next Wednesday. That's the kind of way that game's shaping up right now, because the ticket demand is driven entirely by Ohio State fans. So that's the smart way to do it for the Buckeyes. First Big Ten opener since the 1970s. So, this is a good way to start the season. I'm excited. And, the other thing too, Dave, is it's a good thing it's a Thursday night for OSU fans for two reasons. One, we have to wait less time to see the Buckeyes play. And two, they get more time to prepare for Oklahoma.
And if you happen to cover the team, you get to sit around all day Saturday and just watch college football. I get to get my work out of the way Thursday night and just get to sit around and watch all the great college football that's on all day Saturday that I normally would miss at least half of or more. So I'm excited for the college football season, to say the least. Matt Baxendell, the People's Champ, great stuff as always, my friend. You can read his column every Sunday on Bucknuts. It is called The Bucket, so read Bax's stuff. Thanks to all listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.